Good morning, children. As you know that we are continuing with our coal and petroleum chapter. Last week I dealt with coal in particular, like what are its properties, how it's formed, and how it's processed in order to get different products out of there. So today it's the turn of petroleum, children. As you know that petroleum, coal, petroleum and natural gases all are called as fossil fuels. As you know very well by now that these are the fuels which we get from the dead remains of living organisms, whether it is a vegetative source or organism source, right? So if you talk about petroleum, it's one kind of fossil fuel which is formed from the dead remains of living organisms, in contrast to the coal where it is formed from the dead remains of vegetative matter, right? So here we are talking about petroleum today. These are the things which we will be learning in detail today. So concentrate. What is petroleum now? Already I told you a little bit about in the introduction that petroleum is a fossil fuel which is formed from the dead remains of living organisms, children. So it's a dark colored, okay, it's dark brownish color, or from brown to green color, very viscous liquid. Viscous means what? It's very sticky and it's got a lot of density. So it is very viscous, sticky, dark brown or green colored liquid. It's also called as a crude oil, children. Crude means it is unrefined crude oil which has a kind of very strong odor. Odor means it has very strong and pungent smell, and that smell is due to the presence of many sulfur containing compounds in it. As you know that petroleum is not one compound, children. It's not a pure substance. It is a mixture. So what do you mean by a mixture here? It contains so many different things mixed in it. So it's not a pure substance, it's not a single substance, but instead it is a mixture of hundreds of chemical compounds that are present in the form of this petroleum. Nothing but it's called as a crude oil. So if we get this petroleum, then we can extract all these useful components, okay, from this petroleum by various processes, like how we processed coal also. By destructive distillation of coal, what did we get, children? We got a solid compound, we got a liquid compound, and we got a gaseous compound. So petroleum also consists of many solids, liquids and gaseous hydrocarbons or substances which are together present as a mixture, which is called as a petroleum. So petroleum is also subjected to many processes by which we get all the useful substances out of it. So when it is unrefined, when it is just present in nature, it is present as a mixture which is called as a crude oil. Okay, so it contains many different substances. Now why is it called black gold, children? So you can understand by this that, as I told you, that it's a mixture which contains so many substances, each of which has a particular function or a use, and everything is so valuable. Every component present in petroleum is so valuable and so expensive that makes petroleum black gold. Gold is something we refer to anything which is very valuable. So black gold means because of its color, it got its name as black gold. And you know something, the nation's economy, a particular country's economy greatly depends on this wealth of black gold, on this wealth of petroleum. More the amount of petroleum, the richer the nation would be. So that's the reason why it's called as black gold, children. Okay. So how is petroleum formed? Now this is where we have to understand that petroleum, we know for now that petroleum is formed from the sea creatures, from the living organisms, not big whales or something like that, but very small sea creatures when they die. So what happens when these sea organisms, along with in some sources we see that along with the sea organisms, very fine, very small sea plants also, together. Sea organisms basically, and few plants also, very small few plants also together, they decompose when they die. When they die, what happens? They get buried on the seabeds. On the seabeds, they just sink down to the seabeds, and because of the water currents and all these during the course of time, what happens? Lot of sand and sediments and all, they get deposited over them, so that what happens, they mount lot of pressure over that, and then they just get getting buried deeper and deeper and deeper. So same as that in the case of coal. We learned about the formation of coal. What happened to the vegetative matter? There also the vegetative matter, the dead vegetative matter of the forests or the plants, they just sank down and down and down, deeper and deeper, so that all these factors act, and then it gets transformed into coal, right? So same is the case here also. When these organisms die and get buried, you can see that because when they sink down and down in the deeper parts of the seabed, naturally the temperature would increase and there will be a lot of pressure, because it's already at the bottom of the sea. In our chapter atmospheric pressure, in our chapter pressure, we learned that the pressure is maximum at the seabed, right? So when it sinks deeper and deeper, the pressure also increases along with the increase in the temperature, and there will be no oxygen. Can you see here? Oxygen supply also will not be there, and because of which slowly, and this also does not happen in a very short period of time. It takes a very long period in order to get transformed into dark colored viscous fluid, which is nothing but petroleum. Along with the petroleum, what we get is the natural gas, children. So did you understand how the sea organisms, when they die, how they get transformed into this viscous fluid, which is nothing but petroleum or crude oil? It's called as crude oil. Okay. Now this is about the third question. How is petroleum formed? Hope you understood. Now it's formed now in the seabed, right? Now how is it extracted? How do we extract? Can you see? Can you see this? You see that petroleum is usually found trapped between two impervious rock layers.